Theatermakers Challenge. Places, please. Places, please. Places, please.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to day 3. How's everyone feeling today? In 3 words or less, tell me in the comments how last night's homework made you feel. Did you do your homework? I hope you did your homework. I did not exactly do my homework, but I did think about it, and I thought about what I'm going to post on my Instagram, because remember we had all of the things about posting more frequently. So that's what I did. I actually took pictures of stuff I was going to post. So that I kind of did that homework. And while we wait for your responses to roll through, let's announce the winner from day 2's assignment. The winner of 10 Theatermaker books is Maisha Tiara McGarner. Congrats, Maisha Tiara. Look out for an email from the TMS team regarding your prize. Okay, let's go through the comments on how last night's homework made you feel. Oh, inspired and grateful. Nice. Grateful and blessed. Yeah, I thought so too. I was really, really feeling inspired too, especially by just, I don't know, the future, and remember having grace, that whole thing, having grace with people. I loved that. Patrick says, the homework made me realize how lucky I am to have these people in my corner helping me. That is awesome. Thank you all. Thank you guys for sharing. Okay, let's bring on our first speaker today. Stephanie Klemons is an award-winning Broadway performer and choreographer. She's currently the global supervising choreographer for Hamilton and choreographer for New York's first new musical back, Regina, Comet. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello. Thank you, Kerry. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Happy with
We
you
had a little
today.
bit of problems before, but now hopefully it's all going to be smooth for sailing for you.
Yes, hopefully it's going to be smooth sailing. I'm here at Hamilton's permanent rehearsal space, just teaching a new person. So very happy to be with you all, and hopefully you can see me and my audio is working. And yeah, really excited to chat with everyone today. So, hi everybody. I know that you're in the middle of a fantastic summit. Theatermakers always puts together great material, and when they asked me about what I thought would be like a useful thing to chat about, there is an elevator next to me. I'm so sorry. So the dinging is going to be there every once in a while. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's the thing that I always wish that I could say to people more when I'm auditioning people, both, dancers, movers, singers, and that's talking about your authentic movement and knowing what your authentic movement is. And so what is your authentic movement? I want you to close your eyes or at least soften your gaze. And so let everything that's in the room around you melt away. And I want you to picture pre-COVID times, the last big event that you were at, whether it was like, family event, whether it's like a wedding or a family reunion or a backyard get together, and there's music playing. And I don't want you to picture the person that that is like absolutely excellent at dancing. I want you to picture like that one uncle who always stands up and dances, and his movement is always like kind of off the music, and he does his own thing, and I want you to just but he really is enjoying it. So if you've ever seen, we've all kind of seen someone do that where there's just it's almost as if they get taken by the music. They're not playing by any rules. They're not worrying about where's count one. They're just dancing to the music. And Wait, it's usually very, very quiet in here. So I want you to picture that moment, and it's that kind of idea, right? All of us have like an uncle, wild uncle, whatever in our lives that. So sorry. That just like dances crazy and just like has so much fun there, so I want you to picture that idea and picture that, and all of us has some type of movement inside of us that's not governed by any skill or technique or anything like that, but is just really naturally the way that we move. And that's the part of people that I think is really important to get in touch with. That is the thing that I look for in people. So no matter how much technique you have, there's something about being really authentically you. It's the way that you move your hands. It's the way that you sit and stand. It's the way that you naturally, like walk down the street, stand in line for something. It's getting in touch with that can tell you so much about yourself. And this is not just for performers, it's not just for dancers or singers, it's actually for people, just in general as an exercise, writers, producers, people, just to really understand what kind of natural mover they are. And so, a couple ways to do this, a couple ways to get in touch with that, a couple ways to get in touch with your authentic movement. One, the best thing that I think the conversation's over. The best way that I can find this in myself is allowing myself, I am really a morning person. So late at night, my sort of like defenses are down and I'm a little bit less inhibited. It's when I'm really not super awake. For some people, it might be the opposite. You might find that in the morning, you sort of are less inhibited, less in your mind, in your brain, as we call it, right? And so allowing yourself to do like a moving meditation. So putting on some music, it can even be, I love to do this to like podcasts, like that I find really interesting, and just allow yourself to, without thought, without a goal, without a plan, just interpret music, interpret words, interpret movement. And what you'll start to find is the first time, this probably feels silly if it's not something that you do often, but you'll find that inside of that, there are patterns of things that you like to do, right? So you might notice that you constantly lift your right arm up, or you might notice that you always bend your legs and bend your knees, and that's something that you naturally do. The first and most important thing is to just find and notice the movement and patterns that you do, and what is natural to you, whether it's that you always listen to the drums in the music, or you always listen to the lyrics in the music. Allowing yourself to really get in touch with what you naturally in your heart are gravitated towards. The next thing is, once you kind of know that, is kind of looking at that and without judgment or any inhibition, allowing yourself to just explore that specifically. So if your natural movement state is kind of up here in your arms, and when you dance, you do a lot of arm work, that is naturally connected to your heart space, to, if you are, in lots of different types of study of the body, whether it's yoga or Pilates or, any type of folk dance, native dances, there is like an expression that's associated with sort of each part of your body, right? There's like a grounded thing that happens when you move your legs. There's a sort of sensual and fluid movement that happens when you move your hips. There's like a strong, passionate thing that happens when you're in your core and your belly. And then there's, sort of this embracing, overarching, nourishing, loving thing that happens here when you move your arms. And same thing with your head, right? Moving your head can express lots of different emotions. It can express sadness and openness, but it's all of this sort of like our intellectual expression and understanding of movement. So all that to say, right, that's like really heady movement stuff. But if you'll start to notice when you start to do this movement meditation, where you like to move, right? So if you're always moving your head, you're always moving your feet, noting that if that kind of expression, if you're a really grounded person that likes to get into the floor, if you're a really heady person that likes to think and perceive. And the purpose of all this, right? So like I said, begin to move with no purpose, not no purpose, but no end goal, right? We're not like trying to achieve a thing. We're just merely explorers in our body objectively. What you'll start to learn about yourself is the place in which your expression naturally flows. And I say that because the more we're in touch with that, the more we can look at projects that line up with how we are naturally, right? So even if you're a writer or a producer, if you're someone who moves in a way that's really grounded, and whenever you're dancing and you're moving, your expression is down in the floor, maybe doing projects that are super heady are not actually in touch with your natural movement. Maybe you're too grounded and you need something to uplift you. And so maybe getting involved in projects that are heady, intellectual, super emotional, maybe that is for you. But the purpose of this exercise is to have an awareness of where you're coming from, where you're at, who you are authentically, so that you know when you're coming to a project, like I'm naturally a person, I love to move my arms. I can be blocked off. So that's actually like kind of like an opposite for me, right? So like I need things that are heart opening. I need things that allow me to use this part of my body, that allow me to open up my heart to express love. And so maybe getting myself involved in writing or producing or choreographing or directing a really heady intellectual piece is not really what I need. Or if it's something that I am doing, I at least know my way in, right? My way in is through embracing, through nourishing, through connecting. And I think it's a great skill, not just for dancers, like I said, but for all of us to take on. And again, like I said, the way that I always begin is through this movement meditation. It can be 2 minutes. I can pick one song. Sometimes if I'm listening to a podcast, I'll just like turn the lights off and just start moving. You know, it can be an audiobook. It could be anything that's already in your life. This isn't about like taking on another thing, right? It's not like, and now I need to take on this. And, you know, it's not about taking on an additional task. It's really just about standing up and moving during an activity that you always do, and being an observer in that, looking for patterns and allowing yourself to sort of come as you are. And then, you know, the great thing about this is once you do it in yourself, you kind of start to notice it in other people, right? You'll be walking down the street and you notice if someone is like a really heady person, and that when they walk, they're always, their chin is up, they're looking above eye level. And then you kind of notice someone who's really grounded and really heavy on their feet, you know, takes really strong, grounded steps. And it can also help you connect to others better. And I always feel like when I'm creating a piece, I like to sort of work with people's natural movement and just kind of learn about them. One of the things, like speaking of Hamilton, that I think is really fun is that in the ensemble, there's so much encouragement to learn the movement, but not to clean it within an inch of its life, but to allow people to say the same sentence, aka do the same choreography, but say the same sentence in their own intonation. Obviously, there's lots of ways in which we need to sort of keep it finite and to make sure the audience understands the message. But you know, one of my very favorite things to do is to go to like a family function or a wedding and actually, like, as the choreographer, just sit down at a table and watch people, and to see not good or bad, but who's moving authentically, right? Some people can be totally inauthentic in their movement, but it's really good, right? It's like really on the beat and rhythm and it looks good. And then some people can be super authentic, but it's quote unquote what people would consider bad. I don't believe in like good and bad dancing. I believe in like movement is movement. And I actually really favor authentic movement. I think it's fascinating. I think it's beautiful. And I encourage all people, artists in theater, not just in theater, but all artists to make that a part of your practice and your understanding of yourself, because I really do think that there's a lot to be learned from your body and a lot to be learned from your expression and also the way that bodies interact with other bodies. So I hope that was helpful. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties and for all the noise. I hope that it wasn't terribly distracting, but I so appreciate being here. Thank you for having me. And, encouraging everyone to bring their body and their movement into their work. Thank you so much.
Stephanie, that's so interesting. I've taken dance classes like my entire life, not anymore, but
Thank you.
I'm terrible, but authentic. But I never heard of this before. Is this like
That's my favorite kind.
Is it like a specific technique that you learned, or like did you just create this on your own?
Not. I have found. I have to be honest with you. I'm sure plenty of other people have created different versions of this in their own way. I personally love to watch what people consider bad dancers. Like, what people consider like I love watching that because there's an authenticness in them that's so beautiful. And the other thing that I didn't talk about today, but that I've always say, like, if I have time in my life, I want to get like an honorary dance doctorate and like explore this further. But people's cultures are woven into their movement. Like you'll notice that someone from a certain culture, the way they move their hands is actually, although it's unique, it's specific to their culture. So there are cultures that kind of grow up in 3/4 time, right? Like musically. And you'll notice in the way they speak, it's a certain kind of movement that is authentic to their body. There are people that grow up Eastern European that's like, very solid 4/4, and you'll see that in their body. And so there's something about people, culture, their surroundings, the way that movement is woven in, and the way that it can awaken our creativity when we start to look at that and not just take it for granted, that I find is like really beautiful and can open people up in different ways and just be like a different end to your art. So.
Yeah, I always teach it in acting because, like if you have to become a character, you have to find their walk and all that stuff. And do they lead with their head? Do they lead with their body? But I never heard about it for dancers. and I am so bad. And so it's nice that like you might appreciate my clumsy dancing.
You are not. You are not. I have seen you.
Well, I would love to learn more about it. Do you ever teach like workshops and stuff on it?
I don't actually. It's just like honestly, it's like a passion of mine. It's like
you should.
Like
I bet people in here want to take it. I would be interested in taking it.
Time,
Yeah, you should think about teaching it. I know you're so busy, but
I love that. Thank you for that. I'm going to think on that.
Yeah, I bet people here will want to take it too. Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting, Stephanie. Thanks for being here. And you can catch Stephanie. She'll be spending some time answering your questions in the VIP Zoom room. You can still get your ticket. No worries. The TMS team will put a link in the comments for you. On to our next speaker. Amber Iman has been seen on Broadway playing Nina Simone in Soul Doctor and in Shuffle Along. She is a founding member of Broadway Advocacy Coalition and Black Women on Broadway. And in 2018, she wrote, produced, and starred in her first award-winning short film, Steve. Please welcome Amber.
Hi, Kerry. How are you?
Great. I'm so impressed that you did that.
Thank you. So am I.
How long did it take you? I mean, I don't want to interrupt your talk, but I'm just wondering how long.
No. I wrote Steve in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
And from like the first moment of like, I want to get to short film to like post-production was about April to November.
Oh my gosh, that's not even that long.
It wasn't. I had a friend of mine who works in film and he just believes in standing behind women, especially Black women who have an idea and just need someone to help like put the pieces of the puzzle together. So everything I knew about like the writing and the acting, he took care of everything else, all the producing, all the budgeting, all the hiring and firing. And it really helped, because I'm sure it would not have taken me 6 months by myself.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
I'm sure
much.
everyone wants to hear your story, so I'm going to leave you to it.
Thanks so much, Kerry. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my home. When I was first approached about this, I believe the prompt was, we're looking at advice in terms of mind, body, and soul. And the first thing that came to my mind, body, and soul was the fact that last week marked my first job, my first salaried job since March of 2020. 18 months later, I did my first workshop for a musical that I have been attached to for about 5 years. We're still deep in the developmental process before we go to do our out-of-town tryouts. And if I'm honest, I am still processing what it was like to finally go back to work after 18 months of desperation and unemployment, and just a shift, a true, not even a pivoting, but like an expansion of life post-COVID. And it was crazy because this workshop has been on my calendar for 5 months. It's been like the only thing I've been looking forward to, or had to look forward to, for quite some time. And it marked, a return to normalcy in a way, or a return to life as we used to know it. And there was such a huge mixture of anticipation and anxiety and excitement all at the same time. And I felt like it was such an interesting feeling to be that anxious and have that much anxiety about the thing that I love. Like, there was a fear about going back to work, which made me it was kind of sad to feel that anxious and scared and nervous about doing the thing that I love to do, because I was not sure what it was going to look like, feel like, how I was going to experience it now we're in COVID. I don't want to say post-COVID because we're still in it, but I guess a post-quarantine world. So it felt like first day of school, like pre-K, like kindergarten, like could not sleep for 3 days before. What am I going to wear? What am I going to meet? Who am I going to meet? What snack should I pack in my lunchbox? Like, it was a completely crazy experience. But I did everything in my power to like prepare in the best way possible. Like, let me drink my water, let me eat my salads, let me do my stretches, let me go to the gym, let me try to prepare my body and my mind so that I can be in the best shape possible, having not really done this for 18 months and just worrying about how I'm going to be in this room. And no matter what I did, all the preparation, I was not ready. I was not ready for the mind and body components. I was not ready to wear a mask and sing, dance, and act in a mask for 8 hours. I was not ready for the like COVID test 3 and 4 times a week. And I think the hardest part about it was like, there's a level of, and I want to use this term gently, but like there's a level of like PTSD that I don't think we as performers, we as creatives are ready for or even understand. The biggest thing for us was like, I was so afraid that I was going to catch Corona. I was going to catch COVID and derail the entire process, right? And we were operating under a contract at Berkeley Rep Theater. So we're under like California state rules, and California rules are very different than like New York rules. Everyone is still trying to figure out what the rules are. Everyone is working under their own kind of contract. But for us, it was like, if someone gets sick, you have to quarantine for 10 days. And I was like, okay, but we're only here for a month. So if I get it in the 3rd week, we won't be able to do the workshops. And so everybody was on that same thing of like, wait, if we get it, we have to stay home for 10 days. So what if we catch it? And it immediately became like a sense of everyone was uptight. Everyone was stressed. Everyone was anxious. No one was sleeping. Everyone was like petrified. And it was something that we weren't prepared for. We were so excited about like, oh, we'll get to be back in the room and we'll get to be loving on each other and hugging on each other. And then suddenly COVID dreams. I hadn't had COVID dreams since the top of COVID. I don't know if any of you had them, but I used to have a dream where I would wake up in some heavily populated, that's the word I need, heavily populated area, and I wouldn't have a mask on. It was Target for a long time. I'd wake up in the middle of the night because I was dreaming that I was in a busy Target with no mask, and then everybody around me was coughing on me and breathing on me, and then I would like wake up in sweats. Hadn't had those dreams in 12 months, and suddenly in the middle of this workshop, I'm losing my mind. It was so crazy how much I started struggling. Like everything was a struggle. It was a struggle to like get up in the morning and go back to a 10 to 6 lifestyle. It was a struggle to like be on time. I'd get to these moments where like I'd wake up and I'd have plenty of time, and then I'd find myself like sitting on my couch and watching TV because like something in my spirit would not allow me to move at a speed that I needed to be able to get to work on time. And that frustrated me. I was like, I've been waiting to do this job for 6 months. It is the only thing I've been looking forward to, and my body is struggling. I started doing some of the silliest things. I locked myself out of my house 3 times. I came home so exhausted from a 10 to 6 day because also like, we haven't had to like remember lines and choreography and music for 18 months. And now there's a flood of information in our brains, and we're standing in rehearsal rooms, we're in masks, we have the anxiety, we're not sleeping. And now there's all of this information being thrown at you. And I'm like, why am I struggling to remember words? Why am I struggling to remember blocking? Why am I struggling to remember people's names? I would get home at night after rehearsal. I'm going to make some dinner. I'm going to sit down and look at my script. I sat down to look at my script around 9. I woke up at 4 a.m. and there were pots on the floor and the fridge was open. I'm like, what is going on? It was just little mistakes that I kept making. The locking myself out of the house, the forgetting to eat, the not being able to hold on to information. And it was depressing. And it was sad because it was like, I don't understand why I'm suffering so much, and I don't know how to fix this. It felt like just all of this immense pressure, immense stress, and immense anxiety. And I started talking to other cast members, and they were like, oh no, we're all struggling. And I think that was the first time I like took a breath, because I thought it was just me. I thought I was having some kind of neurological moment. I thought panic, anxiety attacks. I didn't know what it was. And I was like, why is it taking me so long? Why can't I remember? Why am I so tired? Why can't I get a handle on this? Like, this is the thing that I love to do, and I am struggling. And I spent so much time being angry at myself for struggling. I called my therapist and I was like, I think we need to have an emergency session because I just don't know what's going on. And the first thing she said, and like, these are the things that I want you to keep with you as we continue moving forward. And she was like, first, we just have to acknowledge what's going on. And we have to acknowledge that this is not, like, this is crazy. We have to acknowledge that this is not regular, that this is not anything anyone's ever experienced. And we have to, first of all, just make space to acknowledge we have been quarantined for 18 months. We have been without jobs. We have lost people in our lives. We have lost momentum. We have lost money. We are behind on rent. People have taken out loans. People have had to move home. People have had to move away from the business. Like, let's just take a moment to acknowledge that we are living in times that no one has ever experienced. And there was something about me just saying out loud, like, I'm acknowledging that I'm struggling. I'm acknowledging that this is way harder than I ever thought it would be. I just want to acknowledge the fact that, like, I am suffering to do the thing that I love, and it makes me incredibly sad. So just sitting in the space of like, this is weird. This is hard. This is not what I was signed up for. There's no handbook. Like, we have gone from 0 to 100. There's no like hotline to call and talk about this. And there are moments when you feel almost like, how can I complain about having a job when there are so many people in the world who still don't have jobs? There's so many actors who still are unemployed. So how can I reach out to someone to talk about how I can't like wake up on time to go to work? Like, but that is my truth. And that is my experience right now, is that this is hard. And I don't really feel like I have the resources that I need to be successful in the thing that I have a degree in and have been doing for decades. So first of all, if you're in a position where you're going back to work, your kids are going back to school, you're going back to the office, you're returning to normalcy, take a moment to sit either by yourself, with someone you love, with someone you trust, your spouse, your partner, and just be like, can I just say that this is crazy? Can I just say that I feel alone, that I feel tired, that I feel like I'm struggling, that I feel like I'm anxious, that I feel like I'm having a panic attack, that I just feel not like myself. And then once you've laid out that list of things, then we have to apply grace. We have to be so gracious with ourselves and say, of course I'm struggling. Of course I'm exhausted. Of course I can't remember the blocking and the notes and the words at the same time. I have not had to use my mind like this in 18 months. I've been using my mind for TikTok challenges. I've been using my mind for sourdough starters. I've been using my mind to figure out how to do my workouts from home. But this level of like 0 to 100 with no 20, 40, 60, no increments. We just went from the house back into the world. We have to give ourselves grace. We have to apply pressure and grace to ourselves. Acknowledge that this is odd and then say, and that's okay. It's okay that I'm struggling. It's okay that I'm exhausted. It's okay that I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And I give myself grace. And I allow myself to sometimes eat half the pint of the Talenti. I allow myself to eat all the fries. I allow myself to walk aimlessly through the streets of New York and just feel the sun on my face. I allow myself to get what I need. And that is the third thing, is getting what you need. I think the biggest thing that helped me through this crazy time is talking to other cast members and realizing that, oh, we're all in the same boat. If you are a creative, if you work behind the table, check in with the artists, because we all operate out of survival mode. We don't come in the room with these disclaimers. We come in like, oh my God, hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And on the inside, it looks like crazy town. We don't bring the pain and the anguish and the anxiety into the room because we've been trained not to. So now you just have a room full of people who are all struggling, but nobody's talking about it because they don't want to be difficult or they don't want to take up time. But the greatest part of this room that I was in over the past month was the director pulling people aside and being like, how are you? How are you doing? What do you need? How can we make space for you? How can we help? We are in a time that's going to call on us to lean on each other in a way that we've never leaned on each other before. And half of that is also knowing that you may be leaning on people who also don't have the resources. Like my poor director, he couldn't fix things. He didn't know what to do, but he knew that it started with him at least saying, how are you? And I don't mean in the theater way of like, oh girl, I'm fine. No, but like, how are you? And there were moments when cast members said, I'm in a moment of crisis. I actually need to take tomorrow off. And it's not because I have a job. It's because I honestly just need to sit on my couch and refuel because I'm losing my mind. We have to extend grace to each other across the board. We have to ask for what we need. We have to offer grace to ourselves, offer grace to each other, stand in the gap for each other, lean on each other. We have to use the resources that we have. If you are someone who has access to therapy, talk to somebody. It is okay to reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling and I need a little bit of help. So if just as a recap, this is about acknowledging this time, acknowledging that we've been through something that has taken a lot from us: money, stability, time, momentum. We have to acknowledge that it's also going to be a long time. Like, this isn't like, oh, we're done. It's going to take a long time, y'all. It's not December yet. We haven't even hit a flu season with a Delta variant yet. You know what I mean? Like, this thing has the potential to come back. So while we were still in the middle of it, acknowledge it, vent, talk to somebody, then give yourself grace for what you have gone through, what you have experienced, and then get what you need. If it's a piece of potato pie, sweet potato pie, if it's a French fry, if it is a workout, if it is a movie date night, get what you need. Constantly be checking in with people around you who love you, who support you, who will hold you up. If I had a friend she was like, it's hard for me to say, like, I need help. And we just got like a safe word. And if she ever texts me grapefruit, I know my friend is in crisis. She can't say the words, but she needs me. And I'll just go over and sit on her couch. And I'll just be there in her presence so she doesn't feel alone. And she knows that I understand what she's been through. So that is my advice for mind, body, and soul in a time of Corona, when we all are still figuring it out. We're figuring out the rules. We're figuring out how to survive. We're figuring out how to heal. We're figuring out how to show up for each other and ourselves with grace, with compassion, with love, with listening ears, with shoulders for others to cry on. And just know it's going to take us a while to figure this out, but it's a one day, one step at a time kind of thing. So I hope that was helpful. I hope I gave you something that you can take with you. And thanks, guys, for listening. Come on back, Kerry.
Thanks, Amber. Thank you for sharing that. The comments were like going crazy. Everyone's so thankful that you really opened yourself up like that. And I can tell why you wrote your movie in 2 weeks. You're a really good writer. That was like, you should write that as a script. It's really good. Like, I mean, how much can me and everybody here relate to? Like, of course we are dying to go back to work. And like, how heartbreaking that you were self-sabotaging and you couldn't get out of bed. Like, that is a nightmare.
Yes. And it's like, there are all these articles coming out just about like safety, like physical safety, and like, keep washing your hands. But it's like, nobody's talking about like the mental, emotional stress, anxiety effects of like, I'm going back out into the world.
When was that? When was that workshop?
We just we finished on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still processing like for 4 weeks. And like, we had a team member who actually got COVID during that time and like had to operate on Zoom. Like, someone's job was just pushing the cart around so they could watch rehearsal.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
That was what made it even crazier, was like, it was in our cast. Like, it wasn't just like, a possibility. Like, someone in our cast got it. And we were like, oh my God, okay, that it means something different when it's that close to you.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's going to be a while before we start feeling like, oh, okay, this is back to normal. It's going to be some time, and we have to like really be gracious to each other and to ourselves.
I'm doing my first job back. I start on Monday, and I heard you. Like, I am totally going to check in with people, and I don't know how I'll be. I think I'll be okay, but I mean, you thought you would be okay.
I thought I would be okay too. And I think it was different for me also because this is a musical I'm leading, like title role. So I felt even more pressure to like check in on everybody, like make sure everybody's okay. So I like added unnecessary pressure onto the pressure.
Yeah. But really think about writing that story, because also I was like dying laughing at some points. Like, you're really funny. And it's really, really, really great job.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Thank you so much for being with us and for being vulnerable and for sharing your truth with us.
Absolutely, guys. Have a great day.
Bye, Amber. So it seems like the constant message for people here has been grace, right? That seems like a recurring theme. Oh, and don't forget, Amber is now answering your questions in the Zoom room. So if you want to hear more about her movie, which she didn't even talk about, go to the Zoom room and ask her some questions about that. I mean, I'm very inspired by that she did that and wrote it in 2 weeks. And for those who are staying, Your homework assignment for day 3 is find 15 minutes to do some sort of physical activity. Walk around the grocery store, walk up and down stairs, vacuum your room, go for a bike ride. But before you start, write down how you feel and what you were thinking. And then directly after, write down how you feel and what you were thinking. And of course, your homework will be posted in the Facebook group and pinned to the top of the page. And those who complete their homework before 12 p.m. EDT tomorrow will be eligible for our giveaway, day 3's giveaway, complimentary marketing consult with a Big Leap Brands. So make sure you get your homework in. We will see you all tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern for day 4. Lead your day with grace, everyone.
It's the Theatermakers Challenge. Places, please. Places, please. Places, please.